welcome to Off the Page with Keira. And holy moly, I don't know why I thought this was a cool idea to do videos at night, because the end of the day is very hard for me. I'm exhausted, I'm tired, I am not magical. Why am I making videos when I am not magical? I don't know. But here we are. This 2 hours past the time I was supposed to go to bed. And I try and do way too much the Monday after my kids go back to their dads. It's like all of the things that need to get done, I try and like squish it into one day. And then by the end, I'm just like, why? So what is this video going to be about today? I don't know. I'm not even sure why you're watching this video, but I will tell you this, that today I was able to spend 3 hours writing the voiceovers for the TV show, my TV show called Writer's Island, that is going live this year. And then I sat here in my prayer corner tonight at 9 p.m. and I recorded episode 1, which I thought I could do in like, I don't know, 15 minutes or something. Like, I'm not sure what I was thinking, but it took an hour and a half to get episode 1 done, because there's something so important to me about the frequency of the voice and the cadence and the importance of like every letter and every word. And I just know that this TV show, I know it's going to go change the world, because we are showing humanity that God still speaks. There are leaders who go and still sit at the foot of God to pray and to receive and to write holy books. And that is what this TV show is going to be. And today, the show felt closer than it's felt in months. TV is not fast. And everything I do in my life is fast. And so this has really made me so agitated. That's the first word that comes to me. But it's also grounded me and strengthened me. And honestly, we shot the TV show 7 months ago. I was telling my son tonight, who's, Kale, he's 21. And I was like, oh, this TV show is just taking forever. He's like, yeah, like, has it been like a few years? I'm like, no, it's been 7 months. And he was like, what are you even saying to me right now? Like, have you ever heard of a TV show that's done in 7 months? And I was like, oh, I think you're right. And he was like, maybe just chill out. So thanks for my child reminding me to just chill out. And I just want this show here because it's so damn good. And these authors invested to be on this show, not only financially, but they flew across the world to this private island that's so hard to get to. It's like an actual it's a pilgrimage to get to this island. And then they were courageous and brave enough to tell their stories on TV, live, no scripts, no makeup. Like, it's a real docuseries that has never been ever shown. The path of the author has never been documented. And the path of a leader who is going to change the world, like, very few document this. And I'm just really excited. So today, that's the highlight of today. In between that, I don't even know what happened today. I don't even know. A lot happened today. I had a lot of calls and a lot of different pieces coming together. And I'm grateful. But right now, if there was a message that I could share, I mean, I would love to tell the story of how the TV show came about, but I just feel like I need a little bit more energy to tell you that story, because it's a good one. It's a good one. I'm going to need to really give it all I got, So, is there any stories? Oh, I know. We can talk about my tattoo story. Sure. So, when I was married, he was really anti me having a tattoo. So, I think the whiplash of divorce and feeling like I can make any decision I want led to me getting a tattoo. And I got a very important tattoo on my arm. It is Joan of Arc. And her words that say, "I'm not afraid. I was born to do this." And if you don't know, JOA Publishing actually stands for Joan of Arc. And the reason is because right after my divorce, a month after I was in my own home, so the divorce wasn't finalized. It was a month after I was in my own home with my children, and I was just scared. I was so afraid. Like, this is so embarrassing. I hate telling some of these stories. It's fine. I had never paid my own bills. Isn't that fascinating? I got married at 19, and so I'd never paid mortgage or rent or bought groceries or bought gas or paid utilities. I had been married for 20 years, and all of that had been taken care of for me, which I am forever grateful for him taking care of me for 20 years, which is really what he did, so that I could be a stay-at-home mother to our 5 children. And what a blessing. What a blessing that I got to be a stay-at-home mother. But then I went from never paying bills to all of a sudden having to provide for 5 kids overnight. And that was intense. And so it was a month after I was laying on my bed, and I was just waking up in panic attacks, trying to figure out how in the hell I was supposed to do this. And I am a medium, which means that I can receive messages from the spirit realm. I don't choose to speak to those who passed on. I actually have said that I'm not open for that. But this certain night, I felt a presence arrive. And then I heard her say that her name was Joan of Arc. And it's not like I had studied Joan of Arc. It's not like I was a Joan of Arc fan. This was out of nowhere. And she began to say, I could hear words, and I heard I needed to write. So I began to write, and I would feel her words arrive through my hands. And she was fierce and a little bit scary. And her message was powerful. And this is when she began to teach me this concept that I teach all the time. And she said, the space between inspiration and action is where you become a slave to fear. Let me say that again. She said, the space between inspiration and action is where you become a slave to fear. And then she said, you are a slave to fear, and we have a fucking battle to win, so get up. And she came and sat in my bed every night. And I know it sounds so crazy, but it's very real for me. And this was also when she began to teach me so many concepts. So much of what I teach is from what she taught me. And this was actually when I changed the name of my publishing house. There's a whole story around the naming of my publishing house, but it was around this time where I felt her strength, and I began to do some research on her, and I began to understand the courage that Joan of Arc had. At 14, angels came and told her how to save France, and she somehow got a meeting with the King of France, and he said yes to a 14-year-old girl. And then when she went in, she told him, the angels told her how she could save France from the 100-Year War, and he somehow believed her. And then he let her lead men to battle, the only woman at 17 to ever lead men to battle, and the courage that she had. But then there was something that was very impactful to me. They have in her court records that when she was in court, years after actually saving France from the 100-Year War. If you don't know the story, she actually saved France from the 100-Year War based off the visions that she had been given. And years later, they actually took her to court and tried her for heresy for dressing as a man, because she had to dress as a man to go to war. They wouldn't let her wear a dress. And then they just turned around and tried her as a heretic. And while she was in court, they questioned her beliefs. They questioned if God spoke to her. They questioned every piece of what she had done. And she said, I am not afraid. I was born to do this. And in that moment, when I read this, I just felt the power of her words, and I felt them resonate within me. The truth of that I was born to do this, that I was born to lead, that I was born to change the world, that I was born to sit with leaders and help them hear God and write sacred texts. I was born to do this. And so I began to believe that I could live without fear. Now, this was literally before December of 2022. So this was like the very beginnings of me being, I would say, shook. I was like, God was like shaking the fear out of me. And there was a moment where I just knew, like, that is what my publishing house needed to be named. But it felt so scary to change the name of my publishing house. It felt so scary to move forward with a divorce. And at the same time, I felt like I needed to leave religion. And so I remember one night after Joan of Arc had been coming, I don't know, maybe for a few weeks, I went to bed with a prayer in my heart, and I said, God, I need you to show me. Do I move forward with this divorce? Do I leave religion? And do I change the name of my publishing house? And I went to bed, and I had a vision while I was sleeping. And in that vision, I was in the middle of this field, and there was like this huge forest fire up ahead. And so I decided to run up this hill to this other forest to get away from the forest fire. But when I got up to that hill, to that forest, the fire had already consumed it, and it was so hot. And I mean, this was a real life vision. Like, it was not a dream. The fire was so hot. And I remember running as fast as I could down the hill, and the fire was licking at my heels. And I was like, I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it. And right before I knew I was gonna outrun the fire, I ran into a chain link fence, and the fire engulfed me. And I woke up sweating, and God said, burn it all. And I knew that I had to move forward with a divorce. I knew that it was time to change the name of my publishing house. I knew that it was time to leave religion. And so I burned it all. I burned Freedom House Publishing. And in its ashes, Joan of Arc Publishing was born. Which is fascinating when I say it that way. Because if you don't know the story, Joan of Arc was burned at the stake for following the visions that she had been given and for saving France from the 100-Year War. There's one piece that she said when she was in court that has always stuck with me. And she said, I would have rather been spinning wool like all the other women in my village. But that is not what God called me to do. And there have been many times that the ordinary world just seems a little bit easier than trying to build a multi-million-dollar company and raising 5 children. But every time I wanted to give up on my calling, every time I wanted to be normal, like all the other women. I've just felt Joan of Arc's words come through me. Like, yeah, she did want to just go spin wool with all the other women. That's not what she was called to do. And I find the more I talk to leaders, the more I talk to those who are fearless and courageous enough to follow the crazy visions that God gives them, this is their same story. And so I moved forward January of 2023 with JOA Publishing, Joan of Arc by my side. And on February 17th of 2023, I got her words tattooed on my arm because February, I can't talk tonight. Because February 17th, 2017 was the day that I almost committed suicide. And so it seems as though I always honor that day with something, whether it was this tattoo or I've launched a book or something, to really honor my choice to live. And that day when I chose to live was the day I made the covenant that I would do everything that God asked me to do. And I have lived by that covenant every day since. And while that covenant, baby, has burned my life in many areas, it has made my life. And I wouldn't have it any other way, because there is no better life than to partner with God. There's no other life I would choose than this life of wild visions and impossible feats that somehow are always made possible through God. So turns out I did have some things to say tonight. It's always amazing. We just have to get in the rhythm, and then the story is bound to arrive. With that, I hope that this message finds you, that it speaks to your heart wherever it needs to be spoken to, and that it shakes the fear right out of you. It reminds you that with God, there is no space for fear. That faith is actually the surest ground that you could place your feet into. And that miracles, they are real. So, good night. I will see you tomorrow.